Hello, everyone. Welcome to the future. Sorry, that countdown. It's only me, I'm afraid. I make the same joke all of the last couple of days every time that's played. Look, hello, welcome to the future of video. For those of you who have been with us for the past couple of days, welcome to what is a completely brand new event. And for those that are turning up for the first time, thank you for joining us. As it says up there, I'm Stephen Scaffardi. I'm the MD of AdWanted Events, and we're super delighted to welcome everyone here today. This event obviously is co-located with the Future TV Advertising, which is our biggest event. And the way it came about was because around about the summertime, there was a lot of noise coming out from Cannes. A lot of the big media organisations, including the likes of Mail Metro Media, were making big announcements around video and what they're doing in video. And then there were other partners such as Spotify, which were releasing really insightful information in terms of the upturn and what they're doing around video. So we coined this the unusual suspects, because if you've been here or ever attended the Future TV, you can probably, name the sort of companies that we ordinarily would have on stage. But we were super excited to discover what else was happening across the media ecosystem. So that is how this event came to be. As I said, big thank you to, I've mentioned a couple of these guys already, but a big thank you to all of our partners who we went to, helped collaborate with, curate, understand what it was we were going to be putting on for the second half of this day. So do go and try and speak to them in the first coffee break, have a chat with them, and they're obviously going to be up on stage, most of them, putting this agenda together. The important information, if you haven't got on already, there's how you get onto the Wi-Fi. Hopefully you've done that already. Free will was the password, capital F, capital W, and enough of me rattling on. We are going to get on with the good stuff. So please put your hands together for Hannah Walsh, who's going to give us a good understanding of the landscape of where we are with video. Please give Hannah a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. For those of you who don't know Ampere Analysis, we are a mixed methodology research firm based just around the corner, and we focus on the media, games, and sports industries. So I'm here today to talk about the digital landscape in terms of both advertising and content. As this is a bit of a scene-setting presentation, I thought I'd start off with the current video landscape, where we are today, and then what we can expect to see going forward. So this isn't looking too positive, but what this is showing is top-line global audiovisual revenue. And we can see that since the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, the growth has somewhat slowed down. We saw quite steady growth, 6-7% over the past 3 years, but going forward, that's going to drop to about 3% year on year. When we split this out, looking at digital video revenue in the pink versus more traditional video revenue in the blue, we can see where the problem lies. So good news for those of you in the room is that digital video revenue is looking to continue its strong growth of about 7% on average. Meanwhile, that blue line, that traditional video revenue, is continuing its decline of about -1% to -2%. If we split this out, starting with some of the more traditional video lines, what we can see is pay TV revenue and TV advertising revenue continuing its decline as consumers have been moving online and continue to do so. Over the recent 5 years, we've seen this being mitigated by revenue generated through streaming subscriptions, that kind of darker blue line there. That's grown by 84 billion over the past 5 years, but that growth will also slow to around 36 billion over the next 5 years. That's due to saturation in the streaming market, but also due to customers being more cost conscious and therefore opting for cheaper services. Now, this kind of red line at the bottom here is showing the revenue generated through VOD, or video on demand, and fast ad revenue. Now, that's been growing very steadily, and that includes the likes of Tubi, Pluto TV, those pure play ad products, but also the revenue generated through the likes of Netflix and Disney+. Now, I know that future of TV advertising is more focused on connected TV, but I thought it was important to pause and just have a look at these hybrid services for just a few moments, because they are new entrants into the online ad sector, and therefore they are new competitors to some of you in the room. We've been looking into the platforms in the US and looking at what ads are actually being shown on there. And what we can see is some of those larger brands are experimenting with advertising on Netflix and Disney+. So you can see here companies like Lego. It's actually missed some of those bars at the top. So you've got Meta's also on there. And then we've got things like Walmart as well on Disney+. But actually, when it comes to ad loads on these platforms, they're still very low. So Netflix has been experimenting more with pause advertising, kind of giving an explanation as why their ad loads are more lower than other platforms. But Max, Peacock, Disney, it's around 3 to 4 minutes of ads per hour. Now, this could be for a couple of reasons. So due to the launch of new ad tiers across most of the streaming services now, there's an influx of ad inventory, which might mean that some of these platforms are not actually filling their ad slots just yet. Also, when a platform launches, maybe they're wanting to attract consumers in with kind of an attractive low ad load offering, because in the US, these massively differ from what you would typically see on your TV set. But in the UK, the actual ad tier uptake is still quite modest. So in September of this year, you saw about 6% of new Disney Plus subscribers opting for the ad tier. Now about 20% of Netflix's new subscribers opting for the ad tier. And then it's important to note that Amazon did take a different strategy. So their standard offering is the ad tier, and you've got to pay extra for that ad-free experience. So only 3% of those new Amazon subscribers have opted to pay more for an ad-free subscription. So it's that reduced viewer base and also reduced ad loads, which means that there's kind of a slower growth to that online video on demand and fast revenue. And really, that's not boosting the overall sector going forward. Instead, what we can see, soaring above the rest of the lines on that chart, is the revenue being generated from social video. Having grown already by 150% over the last 5 years, it's set to grow a further 50%, roughly going to $345 billion by 2029. Now, that is partly due to developments in, say, data-driven ad solutions, addressable and targeted advertising, of course, driving up CPMs. But actually, what's really important for social video is the large viewer base and viewing time that these platforms are now seeing. So in the UK, we saw a key inflection point, if you look on the left-hand side of this chart, of this slide, key inflection point in our last consumer survey. So when asking consumers about their daily viewing habits, we saw that daily social media viewing has overtaken daily broadcaster video on demand viewing in the UK, which might be quite surprising to some of you, considering the strength and the quality of the broadcaster landscape we have here. And actually, social media viewing is the fastest growing segment now in our consumer survey, as both broadcaster video on demand and subscription video on demand viewing has plateaued. And it's edging eerily close to the viewing of scheduled TV channels, which is continuing its decline. So that will be the next point that we're looking forward to in our forecast period. And on the right-hand side, you can see what's been driving this. Of course, YouTube, now 61% of our consumer panel saying they watch YouTube monthly, up from 48% just 3 years ago. And at the far end of the chart there, you can see TikTok. In our consumer panel, it's doubled in terms of the monthly active users. Now, what's interesting to note is that our media consumer survey is aged between 18 and 64 years old. And what we all know, and what I'm sure we'll hear later today, is that it's really the younger consumer groups that are leaning more and more on social video for their video consumption. So there's more demand than ever before for digital-first platforms and digital-first content. And if we look at that Gen Z audience on the right versus our average UK consumer, we can see that 94% of that Gen Z audience use social media at least weekly. But what's also interesting, you kind of see it highlighted there, is that the third most highly ranked media activity is watching influencer videos. That's 88% of that Gen Z audience are watching influencer videos. Sports, which has been a long-running kind of key driver for pay TV platforms and free-to-air platforms in the UK, actually comes below watching games-related content. Now, that's not gaming itself, it's games-related content, and that often relies on the likes of YouTube and also Twitch too, so further demand for social video platforms. So it's no surprise why we're seeing streaming services look towards the digital landscape for future growth in terms of the ad revenue that these social media platforms have been able to generate, but also at the content, because ultimately they're going to want to attract these younger audiences onto their platforms as they're getting older. And we've seen a number of really interesting deals take place so far. There's plenty more, but I only have a couple minutes left, so I've chosen a few. So the one that's often referenced is Cobra Kai, the YouTube original picked up by Netflix, now one of the kind of longest running Netflix original series. But actually more recently, we had Glitch Productions' The Amazing Digital Circus, the first 3 episodes of which launched on YouTube, but that's now been picked up by Netflix. But interestingly, for this deal, Netflix is launching episodes 4 to 9 at the moment on both YouTube and Netflix, prioritizing the YouTube launch first. Something we haven't really seen before, because typically Netflix would want to hold on to that title to draw audiences into its own platform. What's even more important for some of you in the room who are focused on digital content is Glitch Productions have also announced that they've retained full control of that title. And what that means is they can generate further revenue going forward. A couple of very quick other examples. Spain's Canal Quickie, they launched a live news and current affairs show, broadcast both on YouTube and on Twitch. But due to the similarity to kind of linear TV content, that was picked up by a fast channel, and then also a local terrestrial TV channel. So we've really come full circle from digital back onto linear. And then finally, we have the more traditional licensing deal we've seen between digital studios and broadcasters or streaming services, the likes of Fair Army by Duke and Media. They've repackaged user-generated content to sell on to a number of different platforms, and this has become really attractive, particularly for fast channels. But what's really important is, there's a lot of text on here, but what's really important is there are plenty of monetization streams for digital studios. So not only is it the ad revenue, which we've discussed, there's also influencer marketing and sponsored video, which of course can drive revenue, but also drive funding for original content. We of course have content sales, which we touched on the slide previously, that can come in many different formats. But holding on to some of that IP will allow you to generate merchandise or maybe launch events around your IP or your TV show. And then also, what we're seeing more and more of is digital studios launching their own subscription platforms so that you can generate revenue directly from those subscribing who actively want more and more of your content. Now, that's something I think we will see a little bit more of going forward, and that will generate more revenue for the digital-first studios in this room. That was a very quick whistle-stop tour of the current video landscape. So I look forward to hearing some of the trends behind these data points from our talks later today. If you'd like to download the presentation, please do so, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.